One of my regular viewers left the following comment. Can you do a 0 to hero on a tune you start in PoE 1? And my answer is let's find out. Secrets of the Atlas just released, and here's the plan. I'm going to try to take you on a little journey with me all the way from the beginning of the queue. Here's my queue number. All right, I'm in. I'm ready to start the league. Let's start. So I'm going to try to take you all the way from me starting the league. I was sitting in the queue at the league launch all the way to like some pinnacle bossing, things like that. Talk about decisions I make, kind of how I play the game. Just take you on my journey. So let's do it. All right, my game plan going into the first zone is as follows. I want to pretty much kill the mercenaries in every zone I can. I like to just enjoy the new league mechanics. So I am not leaving this first zone until I find and fight, at least, kill, die, I don't know, die to it, the mercenary. So I am not leaving this zone until I find and fight that mercenary. Not leaving this first zone until I find it. Not leaving this first zone until... All right, apparently there's no mercenary here, so I'm not leaving the second zone. I'm not leaving second zone until I fight that mercenary, and it should be easy to find. Quick, tiny zone. Yo, I'm not mistaken here, right? A lot of past leaves, the first zone, second zones, it starts from the first zone that you get the league mechanic, right? What's going on here? When am I getting the mercenaries? Whoa, thank you, Hillick. I just finally ID'd these. I don't know why I waited so long. 10 movement speed, 8% fire resistance, 11% lightning resist. That's like, am I going to be in Act 10 with these boots? What? Okay, let's see. Is that my luck for this league? All right, everyone. It is time. I see the icon on my minimap. Let's do this. Let's see what Mercenaries League has to offer. I'm excited. Here we go. Okay, pretty nice rare iron ring resistance and even more attack bonus. Let's do it for act third zone. Yeah, let's go. All right, y'all, here we go. It's my first fight against a mercenary of the league. Not too bad, really. Not much fight here. Okay, pretty easy. Are they all going to be like this? All right, here we go. Second mercenary of the league. What do we got here? Some weapons, armor. Pretty nice. 40% increased fist damage. A pretty nice roll right off the bat, but whoa. Oh my gosh. Okay, Orb of Alchemy. 2 orbs. Yeah, let's... Okay. Wow. 2 Orb of Alchemy. All right, how about this fight? Here we go. Okay. Nothing too crazy here once again. Fairly predictable. Lot more HP all of a sudden. And boom, 2 Orb of Alchemy just like that. Dang. 2 Alks from the second Merc fight? Dang. All right, here we go. Next zone, next mercenary. Let's do it. At this point, I'm pretty much, I'm just going to call it right now. I'm just going to do every Merc fight in the rest of the league. All right, let's have some fun this league. Let's friggin' do it. Every single zone, every single Merc. That's my thought at this point. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's do every Merc and see what happens. Incoming video. I did every single mercenary in Axe. Here's what happened. And this time I went ahead and went for the higher. There was 2 chance orbs. Still really good loot for just these first couple zones. 2 chance orbs is not bad, but I went for the higher. Let's see. All right, and well, I saw, and yeah, pretty hard to get the mercenaries to stay alive. I actually talked about this in my last video. I made my predictions that the AI might end up being a little bit lackluster, and yeah, pretty tough to feel like trying to get these mercenaries to stay alive. Let's try to hire this guy here to get a decoy totem, because I feel like, okay, decoy totem, not only do I feel like decoy totem is super strong early league, but it should also help keep the mercenary alive, right? So kind of a double win. And here I was also kind of confused here as well, because this is one of my kind of few, like pretty much only complaints I have early league. Maybe I have 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, I think the league's fantastic early, but I had to kind of stop, and I was a little confused. Like, okay, what, you know, if I don't have a mercenary and I hire it, but because my last mercenary died or whatever, I feel like the mercenary should just pop. And sometimes I had some, I don't know if it was issues or what. I'm not going to really look extensively into it, but I feel like it should just always pop when you hire it if you have a dead mercenary. So multiple times I ran into this situation. I feel like it's a little bit weird, maybe not the best quality of life. Like if I hit higher, it should just pop up. This one's got a pretty nice gear again, man. The gearing early feels great with these mercenaries. This one's got a double res, 10% of 2 different res chests. That's pretty good for me. I'll take that. Yeah, great early league gearing. All right, everybody, coming into Brutus. I'm about halfway. I'm finishing Brutus off here. I want to actually let you all know one of the things I'm going to do for this 0 to hero video. I don't know if I should keep making these. Let me know what y'all think of this format. If you like it, you know, also sub to anyone who's not subbed, you know, subbed if you are enjoying the content. So one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to shout out how much roughly time, I'm going to time in game how long it took me. So that was a 56-minute Brutus Brutus kill. So I spent 56 minutes so far doing a lot of mercenaries and stuff too, of course, obviously, right? I'm not playing perfectly efficiently. It's pretty obvious, right? Yeah, I mean, you can look at my screen and see what I'm doing right now. You know, gotta uphold, gotta maintain those very sacred Path of Exile traditions, by the way, especially if they're highly intellectual humor related, then, you know, you have no choice. But yeah, in general, I don't really play new leagues super hyper efficiently. Maybe someday in the future, you know, if I want to do that, I will. But generally speaking, I don't. I don't really play totally efficiently. I really like engaging really strongly with the new league mechanics. So if you keep watching these and see me do more of these in the future, that's basically what you're going to have in store for you. All right, so come in here into Act 2 now. I had a 56-minute Brutus kill, and then Merveil was pretty shortly after that. It was a total of 1 hour and 12 minutes. So 1 hour and 12-minute total Act 1 Merveil kill. And I did every single mercenary fight. But coming into Act 2 here, I was pretty much already ready to go ahead and stop that, actually. And so that's exactly what I do for this mercenary. So from now on, I'm just going to go up to every mercenary, check out their inventory, and move on if they don't have something I want, if I don't want to hire them or some currency or whatever. Like, for example, this mercenary here, you just run through, take a look at their equipment, and boom, got some absolutely insane claws on them, this mercenary. So I'm going to be going for these claws. I feel like these are absolutely bonkers. You can pause and look at the stats if you want. It's triple LE damage claws in Act 2. Really good, pretty well rolled, I think, too, for Act 2. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because, I mean, in theory, you could make the argument, like, I love doing league content. I love engaging with league content. But, you know, the question is always, how much do you engage with it in the acts? I basically want to engage with it basically as much as humanly possible and as much as is reasonable without feeling like, okay, this is so inefficient, I'm just being kind of an idiot now for doing this. And so coming here now into the Act 2 Act boss, let's go ahead and just kind of recap my thoughts, having done a lot of mercenaries already in Act 1 and Act 2. I've checked every single mercenary I've come by. In Act 1, I did every single mercenary fight, and I also did quite a few in Act 2, and I still plan to do pretty much as many as makes sense from here on. You're going to see a lot of that, by the way. So yeah, Act 1, it was just super fun in Act 1. I really genuinely enjoyed it. But then, you know, after I did it, kept engaging, the hiring and firing process, a little bit of weird jank still, I feel like, with that whole process. And then the fact that, like, they have a lot of HP, they're pretty rippy, they're kind of hard to beat a lot of the time. A lot of the time, they would just end up having, like, in their purse or whatever it is, they would just have, like, 3 single copies of 1 transmute. Like, okay, I'm happy to engage with the mechanic, it's super fun, but, you know, I'm not gonna do it for, like, 1 transmute orb over and over again. I don't know, like, how many times I was offered just, like, 2 copies of 1 transmute or 3 copies of 1 transmute. It was a lot. By the way, gotta shout it out, love to see it. First Chaos Orb of the League dropping right at the beginning of Act 3. Hey, yo. Also, I ended up getting a Hrim Sorrow gloves in Act 1 from a mercenary at the very end. I killed them all, built up that renown, you know, and then the last mercenary right before, pretty shortly before I stopped doing them, Act 2, had a Hrim Sorrow unique gloves, which I got and sold for the one Chaos Orb. So already 2 Chaos Orb pretty early, which is pretty nice. All right, here I am fighting the Summoner one. So I had been using the decoy totems for a while, but I just, you know, all the mercenaries I kept using, they just kept dying. So it was really gold inefficient also, because I just kept using up all my gold and they just end up dying over and over again. So I figured, all right, let's try like a Summoner and see if maybe it'll kind of hang back and all those summons will kind of act like a decoy totem also, maybe get some more longevity out of a mercenary finally. And that was pretty well what it felt like. It felt like a lot better survivability with the minion merc as I go for this really nice pair of gloves. Life roll, double res roll, double attack, added damage to attacks. Exactly what I like to see. Yeah, man, some of these items you get are just so good. Wow. And then on top of the insane items that sometimes pop, right here we've got a fight for raw Chaos Orb. Here we go. So yeah, as I was in Act 3 here, fighting more mercenaries, not doing all of them. I would just come up to the mercenary, I would check its gear, check its purse. Ended up dying a lot to a lot of the mercenaries, by the way. You're gonna see a some death montages here coming in. Yeah, after I enjoyed all the fun of just having fun with it, I settled on just run up to it, check the gear, especially if there's gear. Once I have a really good slot, I might just check the slots that I feel like I need a little help in. Like if I have a terrible belt, but I have great gloves, maybe I just stop checking the gloves and make sure I always check the belts, etc., etc. And then just always checking what's in that little purse that they got there. You're getting raw chaos, you're getting stacked decks, which are over a chaos in the first couple days of the league, and also fusings. You can also often get like 2 or 3 3 fusing, those are 2-to-1 chaos in the first couple of days of the league. So all really excellent and can be converted super easily for chaos. And at the end of Act 3 here, I'm really still feeling about the survivability of Mercenaries, especially if you want to engage with it early on. I feel like this is going to be a big problem. I think I even said this also again in my kind of predictions video. The survivability of the Mercenaries, early league, I was messing with it. They just kept dying. And those minion ones that I did, like one of the minions survived like, I don't know, 5 to 10 zones, I think, which is why I went for the one that I just died to right before this also. By the way, that's going to be a 59-minute and 55-second Dominus, basically. So I'm basically averaging out about an hour per act, which is probably about average for me, and I'm getting pretty much everything, basically all the skill points and lab stuff and everything for the most part. And yeah, before the Dominus fight, God, there was that Spectral summoning one, which looked really cool. It's got cool abilities, but man, it got absolutely destroyed, and then had a Deathless Dominus, which went down pretty fast. And I ended up going ahead and taking these early chaos that I'm getting, and my main priority is basically just upgrading my weapons if I don't find great weapon upgrades. But when you're in trade league, if you're playing, by the way, check out this Dominus damage. Watch, just check this fight out a little bit, man. And of course, this is what happened. These kind of Dominus Malachi fights are what happen whenever you buy these 1, 2, 3 chaos weapon upgrades. Look at this. It's like 1 to 2 seconds, maybe 2 seconds per heart is dead, and Malachi is just melting. And yet, check out these mercenary fights, still throughout this video, as I'm just melting the Act boss, and then the mercenaries, I just can't do any damage and getting one shot. It's pretty funny, but I really don't mind. I kind of like the challenge, to be honest. So yeah, I ended up buying 2 really well priced. It was like 1 to 2 to 3 chaos. Both were level 43 claws with just huge elemental damage. And let's talk about my plan here for what I'm doing this run, at least for the early part of the league. So I'm actually going to end up going dual strike, and I'm going to try to actually take it decently far before I potentially switch into some other stuff, maybe flicker strike and some other stuff, shenanigans. So there you go. That's dual strike against Malachi with some really nice weapon upgrades. What do y'all think? Pretty good, right? I feel like pretty good. Now, what about the next Mercenary? Well, I actually had several Mercenaries, the zones immediately after that Malachi fight, which I felt like was pretty fast and pretty smooth. And man, their HP was like enormous, like just crazy HP, and probably just resistances also, I'm guessing. Which is why, once again, I started getting pretty picky about the Mercenaries. So I was looking for now kind of basically big upgrades or like chaos or, the stack decks. So yeah, like that Mercenary I just killed, that was an 80 life ring with intelligence and triple res rolls. That's pretty sick, I feel like, to find. Yeah, the gear really always felt very well rolled on the Mercenaries, and felt pretty good to check them. Is it the most efficient way to get through the campaign? No, of course not. People are racing through the campaign. They have fixed strategies that work. They don't need any of this stuff. You can go faster, but I still really like it. And I'm going to go back again to my predictions video I made as my last video. I think that kind of newer or medium skilled that haven't been playing for super long, but for a while, I think they're really going to like Mercenaries, and frankly, yeah, I absolutely loved it. So, I mean, to me, at this point in the league, I'm basically saying, we're only like halfway through acts, but I'm saying like basically 10 out of 10 for leveling experience. Or, I don't know, maybe I should say 8. It's somewhere between like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and 10 out of 10. There's still those little quality of life issues that I mentioned that make it kind of a little bit annoying and frustrating. Again, I don't know if that was me. I don't know if I missed something, but yeah. And actually, the 2 really good claws that were for the level 43, I dinged level 43 right before this Innocence fight. So this is actually the one. Actually, the Malachi fight, I didn't even have both of those really sick level 43. I had just found some really good gear, actually, for Mercenaries and stuff. So here, right before going into this Innocence fight, I've got 2 really nice level 43, really high elemental damage claws. I'm using double strike, and with double strike, from that melee patch that came a few patches ago, was it 1 or 2 patches ago, where they buffed up melee a lot, and I feel like dual strike is still one of the really great skills from after that patch. Now, I know it's not like a big secret, but I think most of the people that make build guides for dual strike and show off dual strike, they use the other dual strike, the transfigured version, where it uses 1 weapon for the attack speed and 1 weapon for the damage, right? So now that we've got this long boss fight, which I'm going to go ahead and show off. By the way, if you like these kind of zero to hero style videos, let me know what you think as far as format wise, what you think is kind of interested to focus on. There was a lot of different things I was debating focusing on through the Zero to Hero video, between things like interesting early drops, how I build up those first couple of chaos, and interesting mercenary fights. There's a lot of different things. So here we are. I went ahead and ran lab after that innocence fight because I'm feeling strong enough. I just equipped, like I said, those 2 level 43 claws, and that makes me feel good enough to go ahead and run the lab. Like, it should be easy peasy. I like to do it when it's fairly easy peasy. I feel like, okay, this is gonna be no problem. And as you can see there, he went down in like, what, 2 seconds or something like that. Is crazy, right? So now let's go ahead and talk about my little strategy of what I wanted to try on this run, and feeling really good to me, to be honest, so far. So as I already mentioned, I'm running Dual Strike. I'm going to combine Dual Strike with going for the Assassin Ascendancy. And the Assassin Ascendancy, you can go ahead and read here on the screen, this little node, what it's going to do on the Assassin Ascendancy. The first point we're going to take, and actually the only point I'm really planning on taking for this early campaign stuff that's going to make a huge difference, is going to be this node here that lets you get 100% more crit chance against full life enemies. And it's also got Culling Strike for your critical strikes. This is just a hugely powerful node. Kind of insane, actually. I feel like I usually took this node in past early runs, but wow, what was I thinking? What was I doing? It's so powerful for early league. All right, and as I'm showing you what, again, I still feel like are pretty clean, relatively fast boss kills. Get a nice little death montage in here, trying to get some really good stuff from some mercenaries, and absolutely am not able to get it. All right, we're coming in here to Kitava, and I'm going to finish explaining kind of my thoughts and my strategy here, and I think I'm going to keep making a couple more of these Zero to Hero videos. I mean, Zero to Hero, right? I got to take it all the way till I'm a hero. So here's the plan, everybody. All right, I want to deal basically just absolutely insane single hit, single shot damage. Guys, I'm going to be playing the game. Are you ready for this? I'm going to play the game like GGG intended. I'm an assassin, and it says, 100% more crit chance on critical strike. You got to sneak up to the enemy, dual wield like daggers or claws like a true assassin, sneak up to him on full life, and then bam, hit him with that dual strike. And here's the plan. Here's the special sauce. I don't know. What do y'all think? Y'all know about this? Have people made this build? I have no idea. I don't know what all builds get made out there. But here was my thought, which sounded really cool. Basically, taking Dual Strike. Dual Strike already has built into it a massive 100% more crit chance and damage mod on it for when you're hitting against full life enemies. Taking the first node of the assassin, you get 100% more crit chance against full life enemies. So you literally only have to get your crit chance up to 25%, and you're already getting guaranteed 100% crit chance just from using Dual Strike and taking that first assassin node. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to basically just go all in glass cannon, all in on damage, go just stupid mode. And the plan is going to be basically just run up to everything and try to one-shot it if at all possible. Against the mercenaries, I feel like one of the things that's caused me problems is, of course, the elemental resistance, which I didn't really plan for when I was kind of planning this out. I'm going to have to go back and kind of adjust that later on, as well as because a lot of them are evasion oriented. Quite a few of them have evasion gear. Just accuracy, I think, is causing me problems where I'm not getting those crits. All right, so after a 1 hour and 18 minute, what I timed out for my Act 5 run, killed Kitava, and then finally run into my boy Faustus, and I am ready. I have been waiting. I'm ready to start making some money off of the currency exchange, baby, and that is exactly what I did. One thing I didn't really prepare for well enough for this league is how which items I was going to start flipping on the currency exchange. By the way, if you want to go back and look at those items, I had to go back and switch back out to my standard character to clear those out. I usually don't show the things that I flip because people can join in and do it, but it was just the very last stuff from the end of last league, so honestly it doesn't really matter that much. If you're really curious, you can go back and look at that. So I ended up spending pretty much about a solid hour just in town with Faustus, trying a few different items with the gold I had saved up, just trying different items out, trying to find the best, like how many gold per chaos could I get on the currency exchange. Okay, go back and look at my old videos. I have a playlist, flipping playlist, if you're interested, where I talk about all this stuff, and I ended up actually doing even better than 100 gold per chaos. I found one that I was getting like 1 chaos for every 60 gold, so I just sat there and made like, I don't know, 20, 40, 50, maybe 100 chaos, and I also liquidated a bunch of like fusings and stack decks and stuff like that. So pretty nice, and ready to now go ahead and gear up my character pretty well. One thing for next league is I'll want to have a list of all the things that I'm going to flip when I get to Act 5. And by the way, final thing I'll mention here is, for me, this is actually day 2. So I only got to play like a few hours the first day, so about maybe 5 hours or something the first day. And then Saturday didn't play, and then Sunday. So we're coming back in now. It's Sunday, playing through these later acts. Coming up here once again on an act boss. This is the end of Act 6 here, and I timed this out to be pretty good damage again, am I right? Like pretty nice clean damage. I was pretty happy with this fight, by the way, coming in here post editing this video. Oh man, this video's taking me a while to edit, y'all. Hit me with that like and comment for the algorithm if you want. Let me know what you think about this. I'm only gonna make these if, you know, they do decently well, because it is a lot of work for me to actually put this together, to be honest. But I do think it's kind of fun, honestly. It'll be kind of a nice record. Hoping it turns out all right. By the way, yeah, so this is a 1 hour and 20 minute. I timed this out to be a 1 hour and 20 minute kill here for my Act 6 finish and Act 6 boss kill. And why did this one take so long? Why was this an hour and 20? Well, actually, I love, as you can see from some of the clips, I really like when a new league comes out to just run around the Act 6 title island, right? Is that the name of it? Where you just run in circles and you can just keep finding the league mechanic over and over and over again. So I actually did that for a little while. I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that because, again, I love focusing on the league content. It was pretty fun, but I didn't do it as long as usual this league, probably because I was feeling pretty powerful. I was ready to just keep pushing on. And because the mercs, while again, they were good, they weren't feeling quite good enough to justify hanging back instead of just pressing forward. Ended up go ahead and buying a 5-link. Like I said, I was playing this actually on the Sunday, so 2 full days had passed. So once 2 days have passed in the league, you can get nice 5 links and 6 leaks day 3 and 4 of the league pretty cheap, like, you know, 5 to 10 chaos for, like, you know, 6 links. So I went ahead and grabbed a 5 link, as you can see, getting a couple deaths here, using that nice softcore respawn button here for the Act 7 boss. Take down Act 7, and timing on that one was 52 minutes for that clear. So I actually kind of started picking up the pace here. Didn't even record so many mercenaries because I was clearing pretty fast. Things were feeling pretty good. My dual strike strategy was basically working out really well. It was feeling really fun, powerful, getting nice kills. So I was just kind of decided, all right, I'm just going to start kind of rushing through some of these acts. I'm ready to start getting forward towards mapping here. So 52-minute clear on Act 7, plus or minus some minutes. I started doing currency exchange stuff. So I would say I probably didn't track like maybe another 15 minutes to 30 minutes of just AFK time. I'd play a little bit. I take a lot of breaks when I play. I kind of have to take a lot of breaks. So I take a lot of breaks, 15, 20 minutes. I'll put in a couple orders on the currency exchange, come back, and boom, you know, maybe made 10 chaos, 20 chaos. It happened actually quite a lot. I'm telling y'all, about 100 gold per chaos I was making. So went through, just kept doing the mercenaries, and then kept running up to them, checking them, and you know, if they've got like chaos orbs, a couple fusings, maybe they've got some stacked decks. There was a lot of like double stack deck mercenaries, but I also started dying quite a bit to the mercenaries, and they were feeling really tanky. So once we were getting into these later acts, also I was having to really stop and think to myself, like, all right, let's make this a little bit more efficient. If they've got like the pretty much the best thing, I'm expecting value wise probably 2 chaos to 3 chaos, like a double stack deck, a couple fusings, even 2 just raw chaos orbs. If they don't have that or a really good gear upgrade, then I'm gonna pretty much skip basically. And so that's what I did. So there was my Solaris Lunaris kill. That was 1 hour and 4 minutes. So once again, averaging out to about, you know, 1 hour-ish each time. And by the way, I went ahead and counted my wealth at that point because I started doing a little currency exchange, and finishing up Act 8, it was about 160 raw chaos. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not the best PoE player, and you're gonna watch and say this guy's not good, but hey, 160 raw chaos after Act 8, I don't know, I feel like that's gotta be pretty good, right? And having, you know, 160 raw chaos, well, that's going to allow me to do things like buy 2 more claws, which I just bought for, one of them was like 20 chaos, one was like, I think 10 chaos. Really strong claws for around level 60-ish that I'm going to equip at the end of acts. Also getting me a 6-link. What do you want if you're melee to quickly use chaos orbs to do more damage? You want really powerful weapons, and you want basically a 6-link. And I'm actually basically on a 7-link at this point. Well, after I get that 6-link equipped, which is going to come around Act 10. Because another thing I bought, which I haven't talked about in the video, but I put it on the screen, buying an amulet. This is an amulet that has the anoint that gives you melee splash. So for dual strike, I'm already at the end of Act 10. I'm gonna be on a 7-link, a full 6-link chest, and then my anointed amulet is giving me the melee splash, so it's essentially a 7-link already. All right, coming in here for the Act 9 kill, and another day has passed, so it is now my Monday, and I'm actually now editing this video here, finishing wrapping this up. It is my Monday, so it is day 4 of the league. I'm finishing out the last 2 acts. I bought those 2 crazy good claws. You can go back and pause if you want to look at any of the gear at any point. You can just pause and look at what I'm buying and how much I'm paying. What do y'all think? Is this a kind of a cool, I know I keep saying this, is this kind of a cool, interesting video format? Let me know. I'm actually making this again because somebody actually asked me to make this video. All right, and Act 9 is down. The boss is dead. That was 56 minutes plus easily like 15 minutes of just coming back to do a couple currency exchange trade things. By the way, y'all, wrapping up the final act here, and man, look at these boots that I have to take down. Well, it basically feels like, again, it feels like I'm dealing with act boss HP bars here, and I get boots with 70 life, double res rolls that are like 40 res a piece, 30 movement speed, 70 life, and some rarity. Absolutely insane. And what I wanted to do to kind of wrap up this video, clearing up Act 10, is I want to just show you what this character looked like a little bit at the end here. I went ahead and just equipped my 6 link, and I want to just show you what this playstyle looks like. I've got my really powerful, I've got everything equipped now. I've got my 6 link, I've got my most powerful claws that I got, I've got my 100% crit chance, of course, that's the whole point, and basically everything I run up to it, and I hit it, and everything dies. Pretty fun, right? There was a rare, I hit it, and it died. Because I crit it, I can just stack everything into like damage and crit multi, run up to rares, and they just die in one shot. This ended up not being so great of a showcase because for some reason there were just no rares anywhere. But even when there are rares, like there's a rare, okay? That one, for some reason, didn't, I think it must have been an accuracy issue on that one because it didn't just die in one shot. But generally speaking, pretty much every rare, the zone before this, every single rare I hit, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, 75% to 90% died in one shot. Boom, dead. All right, and we're gonna just go ahead and wrap this up here with one final mercenary. Let's see the difficulty of this mercenary versus the difficulty of Kitava, the final ultimate campaign boss. What's the level of difficulty? What's the level of HP? Well, as you can see here, every single one of my hits are not really doing that much damage. The AI is pretty decent, pretty good. It keeps running away from me. Really hard to get those hits in with dual strike. By the way, if you do play dual strike, this is probably going to be its biggest weakness. By the way, ambush, the biggest weakness being that you have to be able to see the whites in their eyes in order to be able to hit with it. Ended up doing okay against that mercenary, but ambush, this is where it's the playing the game as GGG intended. I actually didn't know about ambush, the gem. This is why sometimes I take it a little slow going through acts also, because I never knew about the gem ambush. It came out like I guess a couple leagues ago, and I don't think I was playing and I missed it. Man, ambush is so good for this, so I'm absolutely loving ambush. And look at that, we already dealt, I feel like, more to Kitava. Basically 2-shot it, I think, to get its stage 1 down. And versus that mercenary, I mean, I don't think we were dealing damage as much to that mercenary as we are to this Kitava. Absolutely crazy, right? So that's why leveling up. Kind of final thoughts for now on the Mercenaries League. I think I'll probably come back, y'all, and make one more video, probably just full thoughts on leveling up and mercenaries, and should they go core for the campaign. My thoughts for just Act 1 through 10 of just mercenaries in general. So feel free to subscribe if you're interested in that. Want to hear my further thoughts on that. I'll leave it kind of for now in this video and do further thoughts later in that one. But for this one, it's just kind of a synopsis. It's like that risk versus reward. When I feel like I'm basically getting Kitava's HP down at a similar rate as a mercenary, and all the mercenary is going to end up giving me through the campaign is like 1 chaos or 2 chaos, maybe 3 chaos in the best case scenario. Now, of course, again, if you find those boots, 70 life, 30 movement speed, double 40% res boots, and rarity, well, okay, now we're talking. Now we've got that nice situation where that risk and reward feels actually pretty good. And you do get it often enough, so my end summary of this is, again, I would basically give it, coming into Act 10, I'm done. I'd give it like basically a 10 out of 10 or like a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. I think I'm going to have to dock it at least 1 point for what I feel like still is a little bit of clunkiness on the firing process. Sometimes things got kind of messed up for me. I felt like I had to go back to town, or maybe I just didn't understand what I was supposed to do, and it was kind of weird and clunky. Again, it should be just you hire it, you get it. That's what I feel like. And a lot of times I felt like I hired it and it was weird. The survivability, a little bit of a problem again as well. I was kind of wasting gold, especially early on, a lot of the survivability. And then, you know, do they have just overall a little bit too much HP and survivability and a little bit too much damage? Yeah, probably so for leveling up through the axe. I feel like the earlier players are going to love this, but they're also going to, it's for them. It's for early and middle players, and yet they're the ones who are going to get absolutely destroyed also. Whereas like your more expert players, they don't necessarily need this leveling up, and yet they're the only ones who can really engage easily with it. By the way, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of flash on my screen all the gear I ended up with here at the end if you want to take a look at it, clearing through Act 10. And even look at my resistances. I was basically fully res capped and over res capped. I ended up just enchanting one of my rings right after this, bringing me back up to the full 75, 75, 75. So pretty nice. All right, and so to wrap up this video, we're just going to end in Path of Building. I want to see with this strategy, I wanted to do this crazy crit, all in on crit. My goal was to basically just get that huge impact one-shot damage. I want to see how much was my final one-shot damage at the end. And if I include like adding a 6th gem, for example, into that 6th empty slot, I had 1 green open. And maybe even considering a couple final little tiny tweaks I could do that would take like 2 seconds and things like that. So let's go in PoB. Let's see where we end at, see what our damage was, that crazy single shot damage from that first hit of that dual strike. And then we're going to leave here with some final thoughts before I then do a follow-up where I try to take this to like 1 million single hit, 2 million single hit, maybe 3 million single hit damage, and try to do some crazy one-shots with it. I think it sounds really fun. So let's go into PoB and let's talk through this a little bit to finish this video out. Alrighty, so I've got Path of Building open. This is my character. I just imported my character in. This is what my tree looked like at the end of Act 3. Nothing really too crazy to talk about. I pretty much just took a bunch of elemental damage nodes, lots of elemental damage. I was looking for a decent crit strike multiplier. Like here I got 25. This was a nice little crit multi and also accuracy for claws. Took a bunch of nice claw nodes and basically took pretty much damage, elemental damage. This is a pretty nice node. This is giving us 10% of enemy elemental resistance penetration. We'll talk about that more in a second. And took a bunch of life nodes and also suppression. Go ahead and look here on the bottom left. Look at my spell suppression chance, 98%. One of the big reasons for that is if you're starting over here, you can grab all these spell suppression nodes and you can actually grab this mastery. Chance to suppress spell damage is lucky. If you've got like 80% from all these nodes, lucky is going to mean that in the 20% of the time you miss, you roll again. So then you get another 80% in that 20%. So it's going to be almost 100% at that point. Even if you get like 75%, you got the 3/4 chance and then another 3/4 of the remainder. So I've always felt like this is really strong early on to take this suppressed spell damage is lucky. Then once you get capped to 100%, you can just go ahead and get rid of the mastery and you're good to go. And then, so it came down here, got some really nice suppression nodes here, some nice life nodes, and I'm spreading out for a few other things that I'm going to take also in a few levels. We'll talk about that in the future as I continue to make this character into a hero. All right, so my goal with this character was to try to get some massive one-shots off of these crits that are guaranteed. Look at my crit chance, 100% crit chance. That's just from some nodes taken on the tree. And I don't know, is something messed up here? It's kind of weird because it shouldn't be counting yet because I haven't checkmarked that the enemy's on full life. But let's go ahead and get this configured a little bit because also, you know, PoB can be a little bit misleading. The main thing is you got to configure what you're actually attacking against. So I've got my character in here. Let's go ahead and do some configurations real quick. Right now, it's telling me that my average damage is 50,000. My goal was to get to pretty much around 1 million as fast as possible. I don't think we're going to get it here right after killing Kitava, but again, in the next video, let's take this up to 1 million kind of as quickly as we can. I think that'll be kind of fun. And then like maybe I'll test and see like how far can we get one-shotting everything. Just in case for those that don't use PoB a lot, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up in here into configuration and we need to see what enemy is it assuming that we're attacking against. And it's got us going up against enemy level 84 Guardian/Pinnacle boss. That is not what we want. If we click like no here is the enemy a boss no, then it basically doesn't have any resistances. And another important thing, for example, our hit chance just because I took that enemy level off, our hit chance was at 60%. It went up to 80%. I need this to be actually realistic. And because also our hit chance, if we miss the hit, this 100% crit chance doesn't crit because we missed the hit. And then I think it turns into a regular hit if I remember right. So I really need 100% hit chance and 100% crit chance if I want to actually land that crit on everything whenever I attack for the first time. And that's going to be based on this enemy base evasion rating. It's going to be our accuracy versus their evasion rating. So I think what would be fair is to set this to probably like standard boss. If we click on standard boss, we're going to see it's going to set it as having basically 40% resistances for all the resistances, as well as 25% chaos resistance. I feel like this is pretty fair because we want to measure this against like mercenaries. We want to try to start one-shotting some mercenaries if we can. Can we one-shot them even with that crazy HP they have? Well, if we're going to do that, we're going to have to get through their resistances because you can see on their gear, I mean, I was grabbing, I grabbed those boots with like 2 40% resistance rolls. So they've probably got pretty good resistances. We may even have to jack this up even higher. But let's just start with this for now. I think this is fair. And then the other thing is how much evasion are they going to have? All of this stuff is going to be a little bit imprecise, but I'm just going to start this because also if you change the level here, if you look at, for example, the hit chance is currently 80%. Let's set the level to 70. Let's say we're going against a level 70. Now it's a hit chance of 78%. I think let's just leave it here for now. Let me know, y'all, in the comments what you think just for ending Act 10 and going into maps, if you think this is fair, if I need to change it or whatever you think. Yeah, with the mercenaries, I guess what I'll do now is I'll actually try to kind of track how much resistance the mercenaries have, and then may have to end up setting this higher. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, for early maps, if I remember right, the bosses should be level 70. There should be level 68 zones, level 70 bosses, I think, right? So just changing those couple changes in here, and now our average damage went from about 50,000 to 100,000. A big reason of which also is because this hit chance went up so much. And so, okay, right here, I can see like for next time, I think I'm going to run this again at the start of next league because I actually thought it was super, super fun. I really like the playstyle. I like the idea here. And I will know for next time that this hit chance was way too low. I needed to put a bit more into accuracy. Because let's say, for example, it's got 5,081. Let's say I set the enemy's evasion equal to 0. Then you can see I've got 100% crit chance. And look at my average damage. It went up by 50%, 150,000 versus what it was before. Let's see, does this auto-populate if I change the level? How do I get this to come back in here? Maybe if I change this to no and standard boss, does anybody know how do I get this to auto populate? It's kind of weird. All right, well, I'll just set this back to 5,000. It was something like that. We're back to that 78% hit chance and the 100k damage. Now, the other important thing we need to do is we need to be making sure that we're triggering our full life effect. So I want to go ahead in here to is the enemy on full life? And actually, I'm kind of wondering, why is my crit chance 100%? I actually don't understand that. Is there something weird or something's off here? I don't know what's going on. I definitely should not have 100% crit chance. But anyways, let's go ahead and say is the enemy on full life. This is also going to trigger our huge damage buff from dual strikes. We are going to be hitting full life enemies and boom, right there, we've got doubled average damage. That's because if we go into my skills, if we look at my dual strike, I've got a 20% quality dual strike. That's 90% more damage with hits and ailments against enemies that are on full life. So already right there, boom, look, we were doing 200k average hits. All right, while we're in here, let's go ahead and add in here a 6th jewel socket. And what I like to do when I'm starting this stuff is to figure out if any of these were even good or not. If I'll just click on like a 6th link and see what it's recommending me for like the top things that I should add. And well, big surprise here, it's recommending I need additional accuracy. And hey, I bought the chest that I bought has an extra green socket. So let's just say I go ahead and socket this. This would be like a 2-second change. So let's just go ahead and throw that in there, and we'll set the level down to, I've got level 17 gems for 2 of these. So let's say I had a level 17 additional accuracy. Now suddenly my hit chance is at 98%, and now I got that 50% bump once again. So I was actually dealing 300,000 single shot damage on those initial crits on the enemies. And again, as I showed you, it was one-shotting like all the rares on my way to Kitava. So pretty sick, and would have been even better with this additional accuracy. Although for those it probably would have mattered, but for like like the Mercenaries, it probably would have made a huge difference. So this was basically kind of a mistake. And the other thing I'm going to do, like if I just go ahead and click in here again, once again, let's see like what it has shown here. So, okay, elemental penetration. I'm not going to use multi-strike because that defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. Momentum, I don't see it for momentum. I'm going to have to go back and look and understand this later. But then elemental penetration. I was totally missing this gem. I needed this gem. I made a huge mistake. I should have used this gem instead of added lightning damage. So once again, that would be like a 2-second change. Let's just go ahead and make that change. So let's change our added lightning damage, which I was using the whole time because I wasn't really sure. I kind of didn't prep quite enough for this. And let's just change that to elemental penetration. And when I do, let's bring the level down to 17. Now I'm at 340,000. So that was over 10% damage again, just by making that one change. And you can keep doing this for your own character. Just come down here. I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do it. Let me know in the comments. I got a lot of really smart players here. If there's like a way to automatically figure out like which one of these I should replace for which one of these. But now when I look in here, I just see a bunch of like awakened gems, and I'm not ready to probably mess with that yet. And then actually added lightning damage. Okay, so I did decently well, at least. That ends up popping up to the top of the list again as one of the best gems to use next. So I think this is good enough for now. So we ended up at around 330k, but now if we go into our items, I was using this sustained prismatic tincture. This was another 80% increased elemental damage, and I would pop this like to start off a mercenary fight or whatnot, and we click it, and look at that damage increase. Now we are up to basically about 400k. I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. I think we'll call it 400k that I ended at. I want to shout out one more final thing, and that's Ruthless here. The way that this is calculated, so like if I turn off Ruthless, it's going to tell me that I'm going to lose. You can just see it on here. It's really tiny, but it shows you that it reduces the average damage by like about 23%. That's because Ruthless hits every third hit for 92% more. So one of the ideas that I had here that I thought would be really fun is basically setting up a huge Ruthless for double damage. So basically hit with your attack twice, then go up and like trigger a Mercenary, hit your third hit, and you get double damage. So realistically, this gem is actually hitting for like 2 times more damage instead of like 24 times more damage. POB is just averaging it out over the course of the 3 hits. But I've actually already started testing Ruthless, and y'all, I cannot believe it. I can't believe the fact that Ruthless doesn't seem to have any visual indicator, so it's like really hard for me to actually figure out how to time it. I guess I just have to take the gem out and put it back in before a mercenary fight, hit twice, and then assume it's going to be the third hit after I put it back in. Let me know if anybody has any experience with Ruthless, if that's like the best way for me to do this against mercenaries, for example, or against like map bosses and things like that, because I feel like this is going to be super cool to try to get these cool one-shots, and I feel like Ruthless would be a key part to get just like a free 2 times damage multiplier versus a 0 times damage multiplier if I don't get it timed correctly. So if we were actually to do this realistically, if I turn the Ruthless off, we're at 300k. So this is actually really more like 600k if we're able to time out that Ruthless. So you can decide if you want to call it 400k or 600k. All right, and all of these need to be quality. There's like so many things I could change really quickly to go ahead and bring this straight up to 1 million average damage. All right, and so we will leave that for the next episode. I'm gonna stop it here, and we'll come back and we're gonna take this up to 1 million average hit damage for that initial massive hit with that dual strike right off the bat. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun. Let me know what you think about the format of the video. Stay tuned for the future one, and let me know if you like this, what you might wanna see more or less of, things like that. Any feedback you have, I'll be happy to receive. And I know I've got a lot of great PoE players that watch regularly and often leave comments. Feel free to shout out if you've got any interesting ideas for things I should do with this. All right, and it's always possible I may have made some small mistakes, but I'll go through more of this stuff later, and we'll just leave it there for now. All right, y'all take care, and I will see you in the next video.